Hi everybody, Vicki Tate coming to you from my home studio with this month's boutique workshop. We will be making this really cute pincushion bracelet. It's a really easy, fun, fast project. It'd be really fun and easy to make for friends and for gifts. This one's a little bit different. It has a wider cuff on it, not just the elastic band. So no sliding or pulling the arm hairs, which no one really likes that. Fits really nice and comfy. It's 2 layers of denim for the cuff. So it can fit snug, it can fit loose, it'll be a little adjustable. Nice cute little thing on your wrist. That's what we're gonna make, okay? So I wanted to show you what will be coming in your kit. So you know you have the option of coming by Quilters Crossing to pick up a kit on the designated day and designated times. They vary. The shop is open from 10 to 2 Monday through Friday. They would love to see you there. They are in Harris County, so they have the mask restrictions in place. When this video airs, who knows what's happening by then, but right now you have to wear a mask. And when we send you the email, we'll let you know what time to come pick it up. So you can come pick up a kit, or you can use your own scraps at home. We're trying to do projects right now that are very simple with scrap and not any type of yardage, okay? So right now we're gonna try to do that. So I'm gonna show you what's in the kit, and then when I cut to move the camera, slide will come up and will give you all of the cutting dimensions and the materials you would need if you want to work with materials from your own home. Okay, so this is what's in the kit. You're going to get some scraps for your piecing. Okay, we'll go through the piecing in a minute. So you're going to get some, you may have some little bits in there, and you'll have some bigger bits in there. Okay, as we go through, you'll know why you've got bigger bits and then why you got some smaller bits. As you can see, the piecing on this, it's pretty small, okay? I'm gonna do another one. I'll show you some more options later with some different types of piecing, okay? So that's what comes in, your scraps. Don't start anything on your scraps until you watch the video, because you're gonna need some bigger pieces for backing and tape and so on and so forth. I'll go through all the hows of that later. You have 1 piece of paper foundation piecing. I did this tutorial with paper piecing because I've never done anything like this before. So I thought for me it would just be helpful to know what I need to cover and to give me a little bit more to grab onto, because we're working with tiny pieces. But if you've pieced before like this and you don't want to use paper piecing, or you'd rather use material, go for it. It's perfectly fine. The outline is the area that you'll have to cover, and we'll get to that in a minute too. And then you'll have a little tiny piece. This is Steam-A-Seam. I think this is the original, the heavyweight Steam-A-Seam. And we'll tell you why you're going to need that in just a few minutes too. You'll have 2 pieces of denim already cut to size, and this is for the cuff. When you design your wristlet, you can either you decide which are the right side and which are the wrong side, whatever fashion you want. Your material might look better with the darker ones, your material might look better with the lighter side, or you might want one of each. It's totally up to you, okay? And then you're gonna come with, we didn't do stuffing since it's so small, so you've got some poly high lift batting. I just folded mine over, kind of trimmed it a little bit and stuffed it in. We'll get to that in a minute too. So that's all this kit needs. If you're going to be doing it from home, there's another Velcro part to it. We did not include Velcro in the kit because we're going to make them in different sizes. So when we get them back from you, we will add the Velcro ourselves. So don't worry about the Velcro, okay? All right, that's what's in the kit. I'm going to cut the video and put up a slide to give you all the measurements if you're cutting from home. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so I have my pieces laid out in somewhat the design I want to go, just to give myself a little bit of order. And I'm going to take my foundation paper and kind of keep this as my guide. Now, when we made this dimension, that gives you the seam allowance when you sew it, but it also gives you some fudge room. So if you come in a little bit too close, you're not quite to the line, it's no big deal. The pincushions can be different sizes. People have different size wrists. So if yours comes in smaller than the one that was intended or designed or drawn, it doesn't matter at all. So just go with it, okay? So this is very similar to last week's project. Very similar. I'm going to put my first two pieces together. I'm going to sew them together without putting them on there. Well, I'm not, because I don't have a leader piece. So my paper is my leader. I start my stitch on the paper and I end my stitch on the paper. I go past the fabric and onto the paper. I'm also going to shorten I already have my stitch length to 2. It keeps a tighter seam when we start ripping paper off and messing with things. These are little bitty pieces and doesn't take much to get them out of line. So this design, this first design that I first showed you is little squares. I just sewed a square to a square, then a rectangle, and just kept going around. I pieced this whole side. Those are all different little pieces. I just played and played and played. It was a lot of fun. This one is just going to be a little bit more strips, different width of strips. I'm not going to make it too wonky on purpose. A little bit of wonky is good, because artfully wonky covers a lot of mistakes. So we don't want to try to go straight too hard. Don't want to deal with that. This is supposed to be fun. So I'm just going to start with my first seam on the paper and just sew relatively straight down, but I'm not worried about it. I'm really not using anything as a guide other than my eyes. Onto the paper and then stop. I'm not back stitching or anything. I'm not knotting any of things, but I am going into the paper at the end and the beginning. Fold it over. Now this, obviously I don't want to stripe this big. So first I'm going to look at this. This doesn't need to be trimmed up. That's okay. If it did, I could just fold my paper back and give it a little trim. But this is too big. And I don't want to waste that fabric because I might need it somewhere else. So I'll take my scissors, kind of go in there and give myself a little bit of a trim, not being worried about precision or exact. I'm just going to trim it off so I don't have all that extra to deal with later. Finger press it out and go to my next piece, right sides together. Line up your edges. That's only way to really get off track is if your edges aren't lined up, then you go onto the paper with no fabric, and ask me how I know that. I've only done it 4 times so far. So here we go. We're gonna go again, just down into the paper, straight down. You can do any design that you want on here. If you want to do a log cabin design or even crazier quilting, whatever you want to do. Just stitch until this rectangle is covered and you're good to go. That did end up a little wider than I really wanted it, but you know what? It's okay. It's all right. I'll go to the next piece. I want it straight up, so I'm gonna line it up that way. And then down I go. Into the paper. Now. Okay. Yeah. And then, now I do have my iron hot over here, so probably here in a bit I'm probably gonna stop and give it a little press. I'm a presser, so in a minute this is gonna start bugging me because it's not laying down flat. And I'll give it a press. So I'm gonna keep going. You'll have to watch this part. I'm just gonna keep going until I get to the end. When I get to the end, we'll come back and I'll show you how to trim it up. Okay, I'm done with my piece. I've peeled the paper off, most of it, and there's a little bit more I need to pick out of there. Gave it a good press before I pulled the paper off to set those stitches in on the front and on the back. Peeled the paper off, and now I'm going to trim it to size. The size is 3.5 by 3, so trim it down 3.5 by 3, and that will give you your seam allowance. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've got mine finished. Mine ended up a little bit longer, so I had to trim off some. If my backing had been bigger, I would have kept it a little bit longer because I liked the pattern, but my backing was already cut. So in your kit, you have one piece, you have pieces that are big enough for a whole piece backing, but if you want to piece it, you're welcome to do that. It's whatever your design choice is. So I'm going to put the right sides together, just like we normally would on just about anything that we're sewing. Right sides together. And I'm going to stick a little pin in mine just to keep it still. Not really necessary, but I'm going to. Okay. So when we sew this one, we're going to sew all the way around all 4 sides. Okay. Usually when we do these kinds of stuffing things, you know, we leave an end open and we hand sew it. I tried to do a project with no hand sewing. So it was super fast, super easy. I don't know why I'm having a hard time getting that together, but apparently I am. So we're just going to go with it. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to start on all 4 sides, a scant 1/4 inch. I do have a leader because you're going to start at that corner, and you know our fabric does not like sewing into corners. I guess you could start right in the middle. You don't have to start at the corner. You know what? That's a good idea. Let's try that. Let's just try starting in the middle and going all the way around. Duh. All right. Let's see how that works out. And I'm going a little bit less than a 1/4 inch just because it's a small piece. And I will knot it at the end. Get that out of my way. That's why I don't like working with pins so much. And once again, as you sew, there's no one's going to come measure your seams. I'm not anyway. So just go with it. Whatever you come out with is what you come out with. When you make that corner, I've noticed on mine, it helps to kind of keep it a little taut. Especially if you can stop in the needle down position. If I just pull back a little bit on this, I'm just using my finger and giving it a little bit of pullback. It keeps it from wanting to bunch up underneath my presser foot because I have such a tiny bit of fabric there. So I'm just going to pull back all the way around. Oh, so starting in the middle did work pretty well. All right, one more and we'll meet back up with our starting point. Give it a good back stitch because we're going to be pulling and pushing on it. I'm going to overlap it a little bit and then give it a little back stitch. And we'll come forward again. And then give it a clip. All right, so I'm going to give this a quick little press just to set my threads in good. Now, this is where it gets a little bit nerve-wracking for some people. I gotta tell you, oh, look at my fun little nest I have there. Don't you love it? I didn't pull my threads to the top because I was trying to be fast. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut a slit in the background, okay? So you just have to get your 2 pieces apart. Now I'm gonna cut a slit long ways, down the long end. Not all the way, I'll show you in a minute, but I'm gonna pull my 2 pieces apart, so I'm only gonna snip, well, through the back, okay? Just take your time on this one, pull it apart, pull that up. You just need to get there and cut your first little tiny snip to get your scissors in there. So I'm just cutting through the backing and I'm cutting a little tiny snip. All right, that's all I'm doing. Then I'm gonna get my scissors in there, cut up about, no more than 3 inches worth. Okay, that's all we're doing. All right, and these corners these seams are tiny enough. You don't have to clip the edges off really. If you do a full 1/4, you would definitely want to clip off your ends a little bit. That just helps turning. And then turn it right side out. Then you're gonna turn it right side out, and then you're gonna get your little purple thingy and poke your corners out really well. Get it all out. It flips real easy. It's just such a tiny little piece. It just flips really easy. The ends poke out. So I'm gonna poke out my corners, get my seams all nice and flat, and give it a good hard pressing with a little bit of starch, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've got it all pressed out, and now I'm gonna make a tape and a tab. Okay, so the tape and the tab is what you're going to use your steam and seam 2 for. Okay, so I've peeled off one side of the paper. There's paper on both sides, sticky in the middle. I've pulled off one paper. Now your kit does come with a piece that's big enough to put one piece on there, cut it in half. That's your tab and your tape. The kit I made myself for demonstration, I failed to do that, so I'm going to piece my tab and my tape. So I'm just going to put one piece on one side, one piece on the other side. Okay. And now when I press that, as you see, I've got some steam and seams sticking out. We don't want that on my iron, so I'll put this back over it. Give that a little press over here. I'll be right back. Okay. So now you have your tab and your tape. ready to go. I'll show you that in just a minute. Just set that aside. Before we do that, we'll tackle the stuffing. Now the stuffing, you can do this however you want to do it. If you've got polyfill at home and you want to use polyfill instead, that's fine. I cut mine. We gave y'all quite a bit just because, you know, that's the way we cut it, and we didn't want you to have not enough. Too much is always better than not enough. And then you can trim it down if you want, and then just stuff it all in, or you can take out, I mean, this stuff just comes, you know, floofy right apart. This is high loft batting. You can pull it apart if you want and stuff in little bits at a time, whatever, however you want to do it. So you'll get it completely stuffed. And once you get it completely stuffed to your liking, and we all like, you know, nice plump pincushion, so stuff it in there good, poke it into the corners, pull it apart, stuff it some more. And I mentioned the purple thingy. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but if you don't have one of these things, it's called that purple thingy. That's what it's really called, right on there. It's great for everything. It pokes out corners, it pushes things into corners. If there's a flat end, this little tool does it all. Poke it all in there good. Mine's still a little light there in the middle, so I'm gonna get some more batting. I had an abundance of this stuff, so we thought we'd use this up. Here we go, stuff that in there, and it works really well. Okay, once you get it all stuffed, I think that's stuffed good. You're going to use your tape to tape that hole up. This is the back side, so no one will know it. You can, what I did on the demo, the tape is the same as the backing. So if your backing is big enough, you can make a piece of tape the same as your backing, and no one will ever really know. All right, so I want that red for my tab. This is what I'm talking about, the tab. That's the tab. If you want a really cute and you want to go all out, you can piece your tab, make it super cute if you want. All right, so I'm going to cut the green piece apart from the red piece. And that's going to be my tape. So I'm going to see what size I need. It's just a little bit too big. Still a little bit too big. We'll cut those. All right, about that big. That's about perfect. Let's just knead it up a little bit so it's nice and neat on those edges. All right, and it's sticky on both sides. This is the best stuff. You'll peel it off. Peel your back paper off now. If you can't get it off, just take a pin and score it and it peels right off if you can't get that edge pulled off. And because it's sticky, it sticks together before you even iron it. So I hold it together. Put that on there. Press it down. And now it's done. Now it's done. So this is steam-a-seam, so you do have to steam it to get that really permanent. Right now I'm going to give it just a good iron on so it stays while we're working. But before I do my next steps off screen, I'm going to go to the steam iron and give that a good steaming. Okay, so I am going to clean up, regroup, and I'll get the band out. We'll whip that together. We'll be done in a few minutes. Okay, so I've got my little cushion all ready to go. I've got my 2 pieces of denim. I decided to do the darker side out. I thought it would just contrast nicely with the colors in here. So I've got right sides out, wrong sides together. Now we're not doing any fold over seams. This is the finished edge. We're just stitching along this finished edge to sew the 2 pieces together and to stop any raveling. So that keeps the cuff nice and soft on the edges, but as you can see, it'll start to ravel, but that's part of the charm of denim. So I'm going to sew around. I'm going to sew around twice. I still have my stitch length to 2, just that helps the raveling as well. So I'm going to sew all the way around 2 times. Space each, go around, you know, a couple of threads apart. It doesn't really matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter at all. I just get a little bit crazy about that kind of stuff when I do it. So I'll either figure out how to speed this part up, or I'll edit this part out, but I don't want to have to get up and stop my camera. So y'all can Watch me in fast motion. Let's speed this machine up too. Okay, that's done. So all I need to do now is, we're got a little uneven here. I'm just going to trim off that part that's sticking out. A little tiny trim on that side. Ooh, my Karen K's are getting dull. A little trim on that side, get that little piece off there, although it probably pulls right off. And that's it on that. So next we have up is the tab. Okay, so the tab is just a little piece I decided at the end just to kind of give it the back side of it a little bling, so when you're wearing it, you know, the back side has a little something something on it. So let's get these threads off here. All right, so this is just there's no width, whatever width you want is fine. It just needs to be no bigger than obviously than the width of the band. So I'm going to trim that down even. And I had a little bit of sticky stuff sticking out there, so I'm going to trim that off so that doesn't get on my iron. Okay. Oop. And this is, so I'll just take a look, I'll just eyeball it. As you can tell, this is a very exact process. About right there is what I want to cut that off at. Once again, we're going with exact measurements as we are known for. Okay. And then there's your tab. So same thing, peel off the back. Stick it down. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little press over here. Okay, and then I'll stitch around that 2 times as well. Real close to the edge. You go back stitch it. These stitches you can keep real close together if you want. It's not going to get a lot of wear and tear because it's not a high weight piece, but I just think double seams look nice. Back stitch it, clip it, and that's it for that. Okay, I did change my needle to a jeans needle because we're sewing on denim. Now I have to tell you, when I did this one, the first one, I didn't even think about a jeans needle. And my machine sewed through it fine with a regular needle, but you know your machine. I did change this to a jeans needle because I didn't want any kind of accidents happen on film. Ooh. So this is a jeans needle, okay? So that's done. So the only thing we've got left is fusing this together. Now I just found this stuff, I love it, fabric fuse. It's a good thing for my children. I didn't know about this, or it wasn't around when they were younger, because all their clothes would have been fabric fused together. It's great stuff. I put it on the tape and put it on there. Now you do have to put a little bit of weight on it overnight and let it dry. You could use hot glue. You could probably use the regular glue too, because it's not going to be washed. If you do not have any of these glues, or that's not something that you want to try to mess around with, no problem. Just send it back to us in 2 pieces and we will do the gluing when we do the Velcro. And ladies, that is it for this project. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll have the printout and the screen for measurements and stuff. If you have any questions, I'll have my phone number and my email at the back of the video. Thank you. See y'all later.